Welcome back to Movie Review Mom. Thank you so much for spending a few minutes on my little YouTube channel. And if you don't subscribe, I might have to poke you with my sword. I'm super excited to talk to you about the new movie live action version of Mulan. Now, this movie was supposed to hit theaters in March, but of course, because the pandemic shut down theaters worldwide, the studio, Disney, decided to hold off and is now releasing it in September, but only on the Disney Plus channel. So there's good news and bad news. The good news is it's available. Yay! The bad news is not only do you have to pay for Disney Plus for the subscription, but you also have to pay a hefty $29 on top of your subscription. Is it worth it? Well, let me tell you. In a word, yes, but I'll get into that in a little bit more detail. First of all, let me give you some scoop. So this movie is rated PG-13, and this is actually the very first Disney live action remake to earn that rating because of the action and the violence. It's an hour and 55 minutes, which is longer than the original animation. And the movie review mom grade I'm going to give it is an A minus. So let me explain why I'm giving it that grade, because people are very mixed in their reactions to this film. So in a quick nutshell, this is a long-awaited live-action version of the beloved animated feature film that came out when my kids were pretty little. So they grew up with that telling of the Mulan story. This version is really based more on the ballad of Mulan and a realistic version of that rather than a remake of the animation. So enjoying this movie has everything to do with your expectations. So don't expect this live action version to be exactly like the animated original, because it is definitely not. Now, Tony Bancroft, who was one of the directors of the original animation, says he is thrilled that this movie is different. And in fact, if you hated the scene by scene exact reshooting of the live action Lion King, you might really appreciate this because it is very different than the animated version of Mulan. However, if you loved the music and the charm of the original Mulan, you might be really disappointed. Let me give you some tips for parents. First of all, there is a new character, a villain witch type of a character, but she's not super scary, so little kids will be able to handle her. There are some moments that allude to homosexuality among the soldiers, like the original animation. There's some sexist talk about girls among the soldiers, like the animation. Some soldiers take off their clothes to bathe in a lake, like the original, but you don't see anything but skin, from the shoulders up. Children will actually learn a lot about chi, which is that inner force that guides your energy. In the animated version, the Huns were the enemy, but this movie features the Roran, which is more historically accurate for the time period. There's lots of bloodless fighting and a large body count. Now, there are many positive themes that are shared in the movie. The number one theme being the values of being loyal, brave, and true. And that message comes through very loud and clear. So children will be able to definitely take that away. And it's a great message. Other themes are control, learning to control yourself, sons versus daughters, men versus women, what society's expectations are for both, being accepted for who you are. And both the protagonist and one of the villains, there are two of them, have the same goal, that they want to be accepted for who they are. Don't hide your gifts, live your truth. That comes across very loudly as well in the movie. And then an interesting line that the father Zhou says is, "A lie can only live so long." Female empowerment is huge in how women are seen in society. And like Disney, so many movies nowadays are addressing female empowerment. So if you have daughters, they're going to love it. I like another line that's spoken by the Emperor, played by Jet Li. He says, "Rise up like a phoenix." So you can teach your kids a little bit about the legend of the phoenix because its imagery is used very strongly also. Other themes are forgiveness, pride, devotion to family, honor, and loyalty to country. Now, some things that I really liked. First of all, every frame in this movie is a work of art. It is just stunning and beautiful to look at. Really, I just wanted it to be beautiful, and it is. It's just gorgeous to experience. Liu Yifei performs 90% of her stunts as the live action Mulan. She rides a horse, she fights with a sword, she does all kinds of stunts. And those were some of the skills that the casting directors were looking for specifically when they interviewed over 1,000 candidates. Of course, they wanted her to speak English and to sort of look like a guy, but also be a beautiful girl. And so I think that she did a really good job. Now, some critics are saying that she's a little robotic or wooden, and yet I think her lack of over exaggerated emotions is very authentically Chinese. I've traveled to China many times for business, and I love the Chinese people, but they are not the animated Americans that we are. They are very stoic. And my daughter in law actually is from Hong Kong. And even though she is animated at times, she is also very Chinese, very controlled. And so I thought that choosing this actress actually was really appropriate. Speaking of China, you get to see beautiful China, from the rice fields to the villages to the famous Forbidden City, which is huge in real life. I got to walk that up and down the stairs, over the bridges, through it. It goes on and on and on. It's really amazing. So you get a little taste of that as well. It's a beautiful country full of rich culture and heritage. One of the times where I went to speak at an event, they actually made this. I'm not sure if this is going to show up forwards or backwards, but I loved this little plaque so much that I said, "Can I keep it?" And they said, "Sure." So it says my name, and because I teach for a university, it says teacher Trina Boice, or at least that's what they told me it says. Anyway, um, they filmed the movie in mainland China, but actually a lot of the movie was filmed in New Zealand too. I was really hoping they were going to film it all in China, but you do definitely get a taste of beautiful China. The talented cast includes Liu Yifei, Donnie Yen, Li Gong, Jet Li, Jason Scott Lee, Sima, Jun Yu, Chen Tang, and Jimmy Wong. I hope I didn't pronounce their names incorrectly. By the way, Rosalind Chow is in the movie, and when is she going to start aging? She just looked beautiful. There's a lot of gorgeous imagery and symbolism to catch, so pay attention to that. There's some very cool CGI, although at times it's very obvious CGI, so I have kind of mixed feelings about that. Now, Jet Li originally rejected the invitation to be in this movie, but his daughters reminded him that Disney was going to portray China in a lovely light and that he should definitely be a part of the project. So he changed his mind and he plays the emperor. Speaking of Jet Li as the emperor, they dub his voice, which is really odd and kind of seemed disrespectful. And it was super distracting to watch him speak. I kept looking at his lips going, what is the deal? So I was glad he was in the movie though. I mentioned the phoenix, and it's just very beautiful, and it's the perfect imagery for Mulan and her rebirth. The witch's fingers look like eagle's talons, which I think again is a perfect contrast for the phoenix and its beauty and powers. In a movie that shines the spotlight on a female protagonist, I thought that it was very appropriate to have a female director, Nikki Caro. She does a fantastic job. And a lot of attention was paid to the movie to really make it historically accurate. For example, the costume designer, Bina Dagler, I probably pronounced her name incorrectly too, researched in China for weeks to look at the history and what people would wear. And I thought that she did a great job. The costumes are beautiful, rich. And one of my sons gave me this classic Chinese jacket after my first trip to China. Anyway, the music is inspiring and sweeping as it should be in this epic tale. And I loved the music Loyal, Brave, and True that played at the very end of the movie. And then as the final credits are rolling, you get to hear one of the songs from the original animation, but sung in Mandarin. And I thought that that was just lovely. And by the way, at the very beginning of the movie, you know, in all Disney movies, they have the Princess Castle, right, from Disneyland. And so you see it, but it's the castle from the new Shanghai Disneyland. So I thought that that was a really nice touch. Look for a fun cameo of Ming Na Wen from the original animation. She looks beautiful as always. Seriously, Asian women just do not age. She's stunning. And I have to tell you where to find her because if you blink, you'll miss the cameo. She's the beautiful woman that introduces Mulan at court in the palace towards the end of the movie. So, anyway, catch that. And I thought that was a lovely tribute to her to allow her to be a part of this new remake version. All right, now for some things that I didn't like. It's not a musical. I was so disappointed. I didn't know originally that it wasn't going to be a musical because one of the trailers was misleading. You hear the song from the original animation, and so I just assumed there was going to be singing, and there's not. This is a live action movie rather than a live action remake of the animation. So again, know that going in that you're going to see an action movie, not a live action musical. And then of course, Mushu the dragon is missing, and that was super sad because of course everybody loved Eddie Murphy's character and it brought such fun and charm to the original movie, and it is just not there at all. Also, instead of a cute cricket that accompanies Mulan, like in the original animation, there's a soldier whose name is Cricket, or nickname is Cricket, but there's no special connection that runs as a thread throughout the movie like the cricket in the animation. So, again, don't look for that. It's not coming. And those are some of the elements that made the animation so fun and cute. And they're just not in this movie at all. Another thing that bothered me is I hate fake looking stunts, and there is quite a bit of that in the movie. And in fact, it's called wire fu. It's actually a style of action from kung fu movies, and people love it in the kung fu movies. And so it's in this movie, not in every action scene, but enough of it that I was just like, oh, why can't we have real stunts? But I think it's also a tribute to Kung Fu. So I kind of had mixed feelings about that. There are also some really important scenes from the original animation that are just cut short as missed opportunities in this movie. For example, you know, in the original animation where Mulan is in her ancestral area where there are the tombs of her dead ancestors, and she feels their spirits, and it's this kind of long scene, and she cuts her hair, and it's this big dramatic decision for her. And in this movie, you don't even see her getting dressed in her father's robes. She's just instantly wearing them and ready to go. She holds her sword, points it to the camera, and then cuts to the next scene, and that's it. So it was a little bit disappointing in that regard, because it's an epic decision that changes the whole course of her family, right? So again, it was just a choice that Disney made. The movie tries to be very realistic, yet there are also some moments that are not. For example, Mulan sheds her armor when she chooses to be Mulan and not this pretend male soldier, which is an actual symbolic moment, and they do that really well. But then she goes into battle without armor. Now, another thing that I thought was interesting was that in the original, Mulan is a pretty average girl, but she chooses to be brave and fight, and she develops these talents, while she's in training with the rest of the soldiers. In this movie, she's born with an unnatural ability, or chi, and so she's sort of magical, making us regular girls unable to really relate to her on that level. Do you know what I mean? Now, another word about the villain, and I mentioned there were two of them. In a really good movie, the villain should be as significant and powerful as the protagonist to create a sense of balance. Well, in this movie, there are two villains, and yet the balance isn't quite there. The villains, I don't want to give any spoilers away, but the villains approach the protagonist in different ways, and it's just not maybe as powerful as the original in the animation. However, there is a moment, as I mentioned, with this witch that is very powerful, and girls will appreciate it. Okay, I'll share a few lines with you, but you can see the rest of the lines that I wrote in my on my website, moviereviewmom.com, as well as some other things. So I really like this line from the father, echoed by Mulan in the movie, where he says, there is no courage without fear. And I love that, because unless you're frightened, you don't really need courage to step up and to become brave and to become a hero. And so I like that message for kids and adults. And then another moment towards the end, is when the father looks at his daughter Mulan after she's returned home, and he says, one warrior knows another. You were always there, and I see you for the very first time. Oh, I did get teary eyed. And so I was glad. I look for that in Disney moments. If it doesn't bring a tear to my eye, something went wrong. And so I love that there were some moments that made me go. And then, as the legend tells us, the girl became a soldier became a the leader became a legend. Dun, dun, dun. So it definitely has that epic feel to it, and I thought it was really well done. Again, it is not the animation. Now, some movies that I would recommend for you if you enjoy this movie that I think you'll like are, first of all, go back and watch the animated version, because it's just great. And if your kids haven't seen it, have them watch that one. And then you can talk about the differences, the things that they liked or didn't like. Also, another animated movie that I thought painted a beautiful picture of China and introduced the rich culture to an American audience was a movie called Abominable. I thought it was so pretty and just beautiful to watch. And then a live action that Disney made that I think they did very well was the Beauty and the Beast remake with Emma Watson. And these remakes are kind of getting a bad rap for various reasons, but I thought this one was really good. Another remake that I really enjoyed from Disney was The Jungle Book. All right, that's it for today. Thank you so much, and I hope you enjoy this movie. Again, go in it with the right expectations, and I think that you will enjoy it. Be sure and subscribe, comment down below. Let me know what you thought of the movie, and I will see you in the next one. Bye for now.